أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من اللسان يفقه قولي اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Today we'll be, inshallah, continuing from the ninth word. We are reading from the fifth point of the ninth word. And the text is ready before us. Before I begin reading, I'll just provide, as per usual, just a quick summary of where we are and what we're doing in this text. So this ninth word is an elucidation and explanation of the Quranic verses from Surah Al-Rum, from chapter 30, verses 17 to 18, that say, in the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate. So glorify God when you reach evening and when you rise in the morning, for all praise is His in the heavens and on earth, and towards the end of the day and when you have reached noon. And so here it's this text that we've been studying for the last several weeks has been about the wisdom in the times of the prayers, right? And the numerous points, I won't summarize all of them, but they have focused on the meaning of glorification, exaltation, praise, being like seeds of prayers, worship as realization of my neediness and existential poverty, right? Prayer as an index of all the worship of, as just a human being, is an index to all the qualities shown in the world. And this fifth point has started, this fifth point started a couple of pages ago with examining the condition of the human being, right? How I am affected by everything in this universe, how I am in a relationship with everything, but also powerless in face of everything and completely needy and dependent. And so far it seems like each time of the prayer that this author is elucidating upon, right, from Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib to now Isha, has been how each prayer, each time of the prayer, corresponds with my needs as a human being. They act as means through which I declare my human reality and ask for the one that created me in this way to fulfill those very needs. And so let's start reading the paragraph before us, and I guess try to keep ourselves in relationship with what is being described, right? Not isolate the text, but look at it, read it, think about it, reflect upon it as it relates to me, my human needs, my human qualities, as well as everything that I am experiencing and seeing and observing in this world that I find myself in this existence that I find myself in. Inshallah. So, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. At the time of Isha, at nightfall, the last traces of the day remaining on the horizon disappear, and the world of night enfolds the universe. As the all-powerful and glorious one, the changer of night and day, turns the white page of day into the black page of night through the mighty disposals of his dominicality. As the all-powerful and glorious one, the changer of night and day, turns the white page of day into the black page of night through the mighty disposals of his dominicality. It recalls the divine activities of that all-wise one of perfection, the subduer of the sun and the moon, turning the green-adorned page of summer into the frigid white page of winter. And with the remaining works of the departed being erased from this world with the passing of time, it recalls the divine acts of the Creator of life and death in their passage to another, quite different world. It is a time that calls to mind the disposals of the Creator of the heavens and the earth's awesomeness and the manifestations of his beauty in the utter destruction of this narrow, fleeting, and lowly world, the terrible death-agonies of its decease, and in the unfolding of the broad, eternal, and majestic world of the hereafter. And the universe's owner, its true disposer, its true beloved, and object of worship, can only be the one who with ease turns night into day, winter into spring, and this world into the hereafter, like the pages of a book, who writes and erases them and changes them. Before I continue, I think let's take a pause to look at this paragraph here. That's talking about not just the time of the nightfall prayer of Isha, right? But also of, I guess, everything that corresponds to it, right? What it also represents within the life of, within just a day, within the life of this world. So a few things that just immediately attract my attention is how this time of Isha is a point of transformation. Day into night, right? From the sun to the moon. Summer into winter. Life into death. And then death into life. It reminds us of the transience, temporal nature of this world, right? And another thing that I thought was interesting in this passage is, it never refers to God by just saying God, but it refers to the Creator, the Maker, what we conclude to be God, as in 10 different phrases, if you will, right? All glorious, all powerful and glorious one, changer of night and day, all wise one of perfection, subduer of the sun and the moon, creator of life and death. There's a typo there. It says creator and life and death, but it's creator of life and death. Creator of the heavens and the earth, the universe's owner, its true disposer, its true beloved, and object of worship. And all of these understandings, right? All of these descriptors are linked, are completely related to what I experience in this world, in this universe. And I guess, I'm sure each of them we could focus on each of them, but one that that kind of spoke to me was a phrase here rather that spoke to me was where it says, as the all-powerful and glorious one, the changer of night and day turns the white page of day into the black page of night through the mighty disposals of his dominicality. of his dominicality, or what we would call rububiyah, right? How he fulfills the needs of all beings, all creatures simultaneously, sustaining them all, meeting their needs perfectly. And how all of this is taking place as I see transformations take place, right? Again, from day to night, from summer into winter, and then eventually from winter into spring. So it's describing the condition of this world. It's describing how this world is in a state of constant change, and how these days and nights are pages. I also enjoyed the terminology there, right? White page of day into black page of night. I have to read this world as a book, because I see that it is being written continuously, constantly as a book. Things are being written and then erased away, or changed, or added upon. There's a continuous acting upon that's taking place in this world. And so our point of departure here for this Isha, understanding the time of Isha, is again looking at this world and looking at these transformations, and looking at how the departure of things, of existing things, as time passes, right? Seeing the interplay between life and death, the transformation from life into death, but then also from death into life. I mean, these are being made very apparent to us, very obvious to us. You know, some of you, like in this part of the world I'm in right now, we're experiencing winter, but I don't think any of us doubts that there will be spring. It's just, yeah, of course there's going to be spring, and then summer, and then winter again. And it's being shown to us, demonstrated to us, in a very evident fashion. So I think this paragraph sets the frame, right, for how I have to start my investigations, and try to understand what the time of the Isha prayer represents for me as a human being. And I think that's what he'll take us to in the following paragraph. Let me just pause if anyone has any comments or anything that struck out to them in this passage before I continue. They can just feel free to jump right in. Otherwise, I'll continue, inshallah. Okay. So the text continues and says, "Thus at nightfall, man's spirit," right, the human spirit, which is infinitely impotent and weak, and infinitely poor and needy, and plunged into the infinite darkness of the future, and tossed around amid innumerable events, performs the Isha prayer, which has this meaning. Like Abraham says, "I love not those that set." Right, and this is in Surah Anam, verse 76 of chapter 6. Like Abraham, who says, "I love not those that set." And through the prayers seeks refuge at the court of an undying object of worship, an eternal beloved one, and in this transient world and fleeting life and dark world and black future, he supplicates an enduring, everlasting one, and for a moment of unending conversation, a few seconds of immortal life, he asks to receive the favors of the all-merciful and compassionate one's mercy and the light of his guidance, which will strew light on his world and illuminate his future and bind up the wounds resulting from the departure and decline of all creatures and friends. So here now, we're connected back to human needs, because that's the heart of the matter, right? Prayer, worship is this platform through which I come to express my human needs. There are times when my speech, my action, and my consciousness all become aligned together so that I can express myself to my Creator and say, this is the state I find myself in, and there's nothing I can do about it to change it. Nothing in this world, not my friends, not my spouse, not my family, not my teachers, not my pets, not my job, not my school, my education. Nothing can change, not this medicine or that medicine can change my human reality, that I am dependent on everything. I can't take one breath or give out another breath if I put it on manual. If I try to do it manually, and even then I'm not really doing it. Everything is just working perfectly in me. I can't. What does it mean to be infinitely impotent and weak? It means to recognize that I can't in any way, in any absolute way, sustain my own existence. I can't sustain my own existence. I can't give myself continued existence. I am completely, in this sense, existentially weak and needy. I am in need of an existence giver. I am in need of a sustainer. And so this time of Isha, right? This time of nightfall, and darkness is what we usually associate with, I don't know, the lowest point of something, uh, the weakest, the darkest, one's darkest hour, right? That's the phrase that we'll use in English. At my darkest hour, I'm faced with these needs that I have as a human being. These needs are, one, of course, I want to be happy and I want to be eternally happy. I want to have existence that does not die away, that does not cripple away, that does not, I don't know, become less enjoyable in any sense. And I also want to feel happy. I want to feel valued. I want to feel loved in a perfect fashion as I exist, as I'm conscious of my existence. And I guess this need, this reality of the human being is most succinctly, is most concisely expressed by Abraham, right? I love not those that set. I am Abraham in this sense. And he's me, he's representing me. He's representing the crux of the human condition. I don't want things to pass away. I don't want things that I love to leave me. And yet nightfall is that time of departure, right? It represents time of departure. Daylight is gone. Life that I associate with light is extinguished. And so I see transience, as the previous paragraph said. The works of art or creation that I see in this universe are being departed, are being erased with the passing of time. And there's the agony of that as well. I see that this world that, I love in many ways, in all ways, really. I like how the sun rises, and I like, perhaps interacting with certain people, and I like doing certain things. I can't even count. It's innumerable the ways in which I'm engaged with this universe, and that doesn't mean that I'm always completely not in a perfect state of satisfaction, but I am constantly engaged with this world, and yet it's slipping through my fingers. And so, coming back to this, what I understand from it is that Isha prayer, this time of Isha prayer, right? He says, man's spirit, my humanness, performs the Isha prayer. And that's interesting. You know, what does it mean for man's spirit to perform the Isha prayer? You know, my consciousness, I perhaps you could say my consciousness comes to the realization of that which is encompassed by the Isha prayer. That says, I love not those that set. And through that prayer, I seek refuge in one that will not depart, in one that will not set, in one that will not be erased, in one that is not transient, in one that is not fleeting, in one that is not needy like me, but rather one who can satisfy all my needs, fulfill my needs, fulfill the that which my humanness requires. And you know, right here in the next page, it says, and for a moment of unending conversation, you know, prayer as conversation. He asks to receive the favors of the all-merciful and compassionate one's mercy and the light of his guidance, which will strew light, I guess emphasis on light here at the time of nightfall, on his world, and illuminate his future and bind up the wounds. Because I have many wounds, right? Because I see it may be people I love that are dying away. It may be just, you know, the seasons that I love dying away. It may just be time itself. You know, yesterday is gone, dying away. And so I'm constantly wounded by these. But asking for the mercy and the compassion and the light of his guidance of the one who has and is creating this world and me, knows me, binds up these wounds resulting from the departure and decline of all creatures and friends. Again, I'll pause here for any comments that you might have, or any questions. I mean, I'm trying to understand this with everyone here. But I mean, I guess, you know, does this resonate with you? You know, is this time of nightfall and what it's describing here, is one able to say, yes, you know, I can confirm that this is the state of what I face as a human being, and that these are the needs that I have. Because I don't think anyone really goes around saying, yes, oh, of course I'm impotent, infinitely impotent and weak and infinitely needy. I mean, these are things that usually at our quietest hour, right? At Isha prayer, I guess, being a time of also quiet, you know, the liveliness of the day has ended and it's nighttime. You come face to face with yourself. You come face to face with the questions that you grapple with, the concerns that you have, the feelings and emotions that you may constantly carry with you, and you come face to face with just everything that you find you can't, nothing else can fulfill in this world. So I will continue. You know, let's read the text and see what the text says, and try to find our answers in the text as well. So it says, temporarily, man forgets the hidden world which has forgotten him, and pours out his woes at the court of mercy with his weeping at the time of Isha prayer. And whatever happens before sleeping, which resembles death, he performs his last duty of worship. And in order to close favorably the daily record of his actions, he rises to pray, That is to say, he rises to enter the presence of an eternal, beloved, and worshipped one in place of all the mortal ones he loves, of an all-powerful and generous one in place of all the impotent creatures from which he begs, of an all-compassionate protector so as to be saved from the evil of the harmful beings before which he trembles. Let me read this one more time, and you can perhaps collect your thoughts and share anything that comes to you as I read this again. Temporarily, man forgets the hidden world, which has forgotten him. Hidden world, I'm a little confused about the term here, hidden world, but I'm thinking that's just, the world that we kind of interact with every day and everything passes by, which has forgotten him and pours out his woes at the court of mercy with his weeping. And whatever happens before sleeping, and sleep which resembles death, he performs his last duty of worship, his last duty of presenting his conclusions, his feelings, his convictions to the Creator. And in order to close favorably the daily record of his actions, he rises to pray. That is to say, he rises to enter the presence of an eternal beloved and worshipped one in place of all the mortal ones he loves, of an all-powerful and generous one in place of all the impotent creatures from which he begs, of an all-compassionate protector so as to be saved from the evil of the harmful beings before which he trembles. And there's a comment here by Suhail who says that the hidden world is the world in darkness. So the world that, I find myself in at a time of nightfall. But I suppose when I come to the court of mercy, when I begin this nightfall prayer, then I leave behind that world of darkness and seek the presence of this eternal beloved one and worshipped one, and one through whom I am seeking absolute compassion and mercy and guidance. So I don't want to continue just yet. I do want to hear your thoughts. I know I'm not asking necessarily questions that may trigger about certain ideas, but just any impressions that you have from this, what this makes you think or feel. Awesome. Please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for the discussion. Thank you. So, this passage is also talking to my feelings as you started reading about the nightfall. And it's inciting me a feeling of the hereafter as well, because the way the author is presenting it, that everything kind of leaves you gradually, and then at night, is where your senses and your feelings are looking for a way out of this darkness. So it prompts you, it shows you, hey, this cannot be like this. Like, for example, in the first paragraph that you read, it seems like terrible, where the death agonies, the disease, everything is just calling to mind, your day it's gone now. And as you highlighted about, who is the one in charge, the subduer of the sun and the moon, the one who is in charge of the heavens and the earth, the one who is the life and death was very important, the creator of life and death. Like even if you have, that remaining, and with the remaining works of the departed being erased from this world with the passing of time. What do we think about that, with the remaining works of the departed being erased from this world with the passing of times? It's interesting how it recalls the life and the one who is the owner of life and death. Like nothing will remain in here. You might have, the departments of the universities after your name. You might have buildings after your name. You might have parks after your name, cities, and other after your name, but nothing remains really. And so this spirit really gets this true taste of what it is looking for. As this man's spirit realizes its impotence, all that energy from the daytime is now gone. And now you're entering the small death of sleep. So where do you present yourself, your spirit's needs to? So that was something to add, like basically, as you kind of highlighted as well, the need for the hereafter, the need for return, something, because this world, as Suhail also mentioned about this world becomes very dark. It's ending, world in darkness, and I look for a brand new day. I look for the beginning, which is like a resurrection. That's what the human feeling always looks for, that resurrection, and who can bring about that resurrection. Where do I present that I'm in darkness and I'm looking for the resurrection? Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Awesome, for those comments and sharing your feelings and thoughts about it. Thank you. Taya Simmons, you also have your hand raised up. Please feel free to go ahead.
I was just thinking as he was speaking, as you were speaking, that it assalamu alaikum everyone too, by the way. For me, when I got triggered, to pay attention to how I feel right as Isha is coming in. Because again, for me, I feel like I start the day with so much not that I lose hope at Isha, but I just start the day. The day just feels like this optimistic space, this I can do anything. I'm going to do all of these things. I set all of these good intentions. I want to make sure that I'm living my best life. I want to make sure I'm living for Allah and I'm doing things in the right way. And then, it's like a test as each prayer comes in, and as each prayer comes in for me, it's just like a constant reminder that time is, moving. And by the time I get to Isha, I sort of feel like either I feel great about the things that I did throughout the day, or I feel like I may have wasted the day, or I feel like I just didn't live up to the potential. And I'm thinking that this is a very small indication of how we might feel in death. Will we feel like, is God using our prayers, this cycle within a cycle, to help us to better prepare for death? So am I going to feel the same way that I feel each day when I pass, as I'm waiting in the, I don't know, I don't really know. I don't know exactly what happens when we die, but when we die, is it sort of like the hidden world that they're talking about, in the hidden world in our prayer? Once everything has disappeared, we're not thinking about dunya anymore. We're sort of reflecting. Is this how we will feel when we're in that middle passage, and looking for the next day to come in the hereafter. So that's sort of where my head went as you guys were speaking. I was just thinking about how I feel when Isha comes in, and I'm just like, either very proud and wanting to do more, or feeling like, dang, I could have did things a little differently. And am I going to feel that way, and how to avoid feeling that way? And, as we transition into the next world. So that's sort of some of the ideas that I was coming in. And I was just thinking, maybe this is our prayers and the way that we're thinking about them now is preparation for, preparation of us being a cycle within a cycle, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Oh, sorry, I'm on mute.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Taya, for sharing those lovely comments. Just thinking about both of these comments, a few things that struck out to me. One, as was emphasized by Brother Awesome, who is the question of who is the owner of life and death? Is life and death things that just happen arbitrarily, randomly, without any sort of decree or order? No, I see that there is definitely a very precise order that's taking place in this world. And yet I can't see the quality of giving life or giving death in the things themselves that experience life and death, right? If something is subject to life and death, they can't be the owner of life and death. And so, I can reason through this and conclude that there must be a source, not of the nature of the things that I experience, not of the nature of this world that I'm in, that gives life, that gives death, and so is the owner of life and death. And I guess I'm emphasizing this because it made me think about, well, am I the owner of anything? This whole, as Sister Taya said, I can spend a whole day and I can reflect during Isha time about how that day has gone by, and just as this author says, sleep is the sister of death, right? When I'm to die, I don't know when I'm to die, so that can be tomorrow or perhaps 50 years from now. I don't know, but I guess the time of Isha is also a time when I consider, okay, if I was going to die from this point on, how do I reflect upon the time that has passed away, the time that has now been erased, the time that it's gone now. Was I the creator of anything? Can I attribute to myself anything that I really did in this world if I can't even give myself continued life by just willing it? I can't, I'm dependent on something, a source to give me life. And so I guess the only thing that I find myself capable of is expressing the condition of this reality, the fact that as a human being, I'm completely poor, right? It says infinitely poor because I don't own anything. I am just a subject of the one that does own everything. That is the owner of the universe. That is the object of worship. And so I find that I can only be a worshiper, as in I can only be an acknowledger of these realizations I come to see and conclude upon. So those were, I know other points were made. Those are just some of the thoughts that came to me. And I guess, if I treat every time of nightfall as, my last moments of life, I guess it's an opportunity for me to consider, okay, well, how much of this day was I able to spend in consciousness of my reality as a human being, in consciousness of the fact that I have a creator. How much of this day was I able to reflect on that creator, try to know that creator, try to forge a relationship, try to have a conversation with that creator? And I think, the times of these prayers act as moments of conversation, as moments of checking in and reconfirming the convictions that I try to live by. So we have, alhamdulillah, a few hands up. So I'm just going to call on them in the order that I saw them. Brother Awesome, Sister Taya, and then H. Beza can go ahead, inshallah.
Sure, thank you. So one more thing, like I had this question from beginning, like when the transition comes from the Maghrib prayer to the Isha prayer. So if the moderator kindly allows it, we can see how that transition kind of happens, because there was one point I think we might have not talked about it much, in terms of when the author kind of mentions, when man sits down and, he testifies to the prophethood of Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. And on his own account, he offers a gift to the undying, beauteous one, like the first sentence on that page, a gift to. So this was something from I was trying to understand from last week, because I think we kind of rushed through a little bit last week. But how, what kind of this, I was wondering what gift is it that, acknowledging and testifying to the, oneness of God, like when we sit down, we do at-tayyatu lillahi wa salawatu, we give the salawat to the Prophet in, at the, after our rakats, and kind of reminded me of that. And then, we, after the salawat, we do the, testifying, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, and then Muhammad is the Prophet of God. So if anybody would kind of have any thoughts on what the, out of my accord, I present a gift. Normally I'm always on a receiving end. So what does the author, first of all, he's only in the Maghrib prayer, he kind of introduces the, this testifying to the oneness of God and the prophethood. From what I noticed in the previous, there's Fajr, Zuhur, Asr, Maghrib. So is there any purpose, what is the significance? I was just wondering if anybody has any thoughts on that.
Let's hold that question. Awesome. Thank you for bringing it up. But I just want to give an opportunity for the others to speak. But let's hold that question, and if you can, write it in the chat box so that we can also think about it, and maybe we can try to address it before the time is up. Michelle? Sister Taya, you can go ahead.
Okay. I was thinking as you were speaking right before that we as humans, we have this idea that we are in control, and that we are in things that are supposed to go a certain way. And I feel like Allah is constantly trying to show us, no, I'm in control. You have no power. And for us to sort of submit to that fully, because I think that us as Muslims, we strive to do that, but I think inherently there's just something in humans that just feels like we have a sense of control, because we have this willpower that we have. Like I something that I've noticed in the last like 2 years of just studying and just listening, like when I hear somebody say, oh, he wasn't, like say a young person dies, he wasn't supposed to die, that wasn't supposed to happen. And I'm like, no, that's not what you wanted to happen. That was when he was supposed to die. It was part of, not to be morbid, but just saying, us, the way that we think causes us more stress. And not saying that those things shouldn't, hurt us, because it should. We're human. They're supposed to hurt us. But I'm just saying, like, these ideas that we have, that things are supposed to, that word is supposed to happen. No, the only thing that's supposed to happen is what Allah wills. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, let me not say unfortunately, we're not supposed to know that. You know what I mean? He'll reveal whatever he wants us to know, as he wants us to know. You know what I mean? So I forgot what point you were making that made me think of that. But I was just like, yeah, Allah is constantly showing us we're not in control. Like, for instance, like my brother, thank God he's fine. He caught COVID this week. He tested positive or whatever. And I am completely powerless. Like, all I could do, aside from telling him, okay, get on vitamin C, take vitamin D, rest, drink water. Okay. All right, cool. But after that, what? Nothing. You know what I mean? I found myself like just talking to God, like, you know what I mean? Like, I was praying like never before, because it was just like, I really cannot control what is going on over there. But so I forgot what point you had made a good point. I forgot why I brought that up, but it made me think of that.
Thank you for that comment. Beza, if you still want to make your comment, you can. Otherwise, we can return to Awesome's question. Just going to give you a minute.
I think, inshallah, we can address Awesome's question first.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if I can address it, but I think we can hopefully reflect on it all together and try to think about it. So, Awesome was highlighting some of the texts that we read last week, which was talking about how, one during, for example, Maghrib prayer testifies to God's unity and the prophethood of Muhammad, right? And on his own account offers a gift to the undying, all beauteous one, the enduring, all glorious one, the blessed salutations and benedictions of all creatures. So I'm not sure if the gift is the blessed salutations and benedictions of all creatures, kind of, I guess, bringing together the fact that you recognize that everything in this world is glorifying and praising the Creator, and kind of, I guess, acknowledging all of that praise and acknowledging all of those constant glorifications, and, if you will, metaphorically putting them in a box and presenting them. But it's interesting. I think it's a good question of why does the text call it a gift? As human beings, we're always constantly on the receiving end. But what is the significance of it being a gift? Are there any ideas on this that anyone would like to share? So again, it seems, I mean, my response, I think I have to think on it further, but offers as a gift to the undying. Gift in this sense is not, I don't think, should be understood as, the human being creating something or giving of their own, from their own abilities, but rather presenting. I see gift as presenting together all of one's observations. I think that's how I try to, I think, can make sense of it. But Itbeza, go ahead, please.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. I'm not claiming to exhaust the meaning here, but I think along the lines of what you were saying, Aisha, when it says he sits and on his own account offers a gift to the undying, all beauteous one, the enduring, all glorious one, of the blessed salutations and benedictions of all creatures. So I think my understanding here as well is just in recognizing the unity of God, or that how everything within existence and within the universe is a witness or testifies to the oneness, the unity of God, and thereby it is also enlightened through the message received by the prophet. Then he, in recognition of this testification by all of the creatures within the universe, he kind of in recognizing them, he offers it as well as a part of his prayer. So I think it's less of a gift in the sense that I'm giving it to you, but rather more of a, I'm recognizing what is going on, and should I, if only I had, if I were the entire universe, then I would gather all of this exaltation and all of this praise, and I would send that your way as well. So I send it to you as a gift on their behalf in a way, as opposed to gifting it to someone, but just within the recognition of the human being, is basically the gift is benefits oneself in the sense that with this recognition, then it lightens up both my inner world, but also the entirety of the world around me as well.
Thank you, Itbeza, for that. Awesome. Does that help at all? I mean, I'm sure you may have also considered that sort of approach, but I was trying to find one second. I have to look in response to Sale, but Tyson, please go ahead.
I think we can look at it as a gift because, but it's still something willed by God, because that's what he's the only thing that he's asking of us. You know what I mean? I think that there are things that we can do to please Allah, and to look at our if I'm interpreting this correctly, to look at our prayer as our prayer, our salutations, our acknowledgments of him, our testimony to him, is the only thing that he's really asking of us. Yeah, I feel like that's all he wants, submission. What does he want from us? Why did he create us? We're told all the time to submit to him, to serve him, so I'm still not all the way clear, but I'm thinking that it's okay to look at it in that sense, not in something that he's unexpected or necessarily needs, but is pleased that we are being obedient to him for. Like, I still think it may please him, maybe, I don't know. Okay.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate everyone kind of chipping in and sharing what they're understanding from this. Yeah, I don't have anything new to add to that, but hopefully that helps a little bit, and perhaps how we think about when presenting a gift to the Creator, from the benedictions and salutations of all creatures. I do see that we have just a few minutes left, so I do, if it's all right, want to return to just our discussion of this time of Isha prayer, and perhaps try to, I don't know, summarize our takeaways, at least for today's class. If anyone has certain takeaways they want to share, they can feel free to do that as well. But I guess here, I guess thinking about myself in relation with all that I'm experiencing in this universe, right? I can't isolate myself from this universe. I can't isolate myself from the experiences that I undergo. I have to look at myself and reflect upon myself comprehensively with all my human qualities, with all of my human emotions and feelings and thoughts and everything that I may be carrying with me. And at this time of Isha shows to me that there is a disposer of all affairs. There's a disposer of life and death, just as this universe that I see and I am part of undergoes life and death. There is an agent, A1, who is bestowing that. And that all of this is completely and absolutely connected with my needs as a human being. Everything that I see, the sun setting, the moon at night, the seasons changing from summer into a cold winter, all of this is intrinsically related to my human reality. And it is through this that at the time of Isha prayer, I consider the absolute neediness that I have as a human being and turn to the one that can fulfill all of my needs, including my most desperate need for existing life, for continued life, and recognizing that in a sense I come from the lineage of Abraham by virtue of the fact that I share that same sentiment, right? As a human being, that I share the sentiment of I love not those that set. So I am in need of one that will not set. I am in need of an everlasting sun, if you will, of one that will not disappear, of one that will fulfill all of my needs, and one that I can meet at in his court of mercy and compassion. So those are my comments. Alhamdulillah. Sister Taya Simmons, was that a new hand? If it is, if you want to share some concluding thoughts, please go ahead.
No, I just forgot to lower it.
Okay, no problem. All right. So if there are no other thoughts, inshallah, we can wrap up for today. Thank you, everyone. And I'm just, I'll write that if that's useful in the chat box. All right, thank you, everyone. Inshallah, let's continue next week. Assalamu alaikum. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.